That Sober Guy podcast contains adult content, merciless truth, and emotional nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
I'm Shane Ramey. You're listening to That Sober Guy podcast, and we help people stay sober. If it's your first time listening, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here today. You can find more podcasts, more resources. You can also contact us by going to thatsoberguy.com. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at That Sober Guy Podcast. All the links from today's show will be in the show notes, so they're easy for you to find. Title of today's episode, The 4 Principles of the Serenity Prayer. The 4 Principles of the Serenity Prayer. One of my favorite prayers. One of the first ones I learned, probably the first one I learned, I guess, when I kind of started on this path to recovery and staying alcohol-free and making some changes in my life as a father, a husband, a friend, just a man in general. I was really just kind of a boy stuck in this man body, I guess, in my 20s, trying to figure it all out. Still trying to figure it all out. Probably a bit easier now because I know I'm not ever going to figure it all out, and I'm okay with that. Some acceptance in that, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. One of the key points, the 4 principles. So the Serenity Prayer, what is it? Maybe you're asking, what is the Serenity Prayer? Maybe you've never heard it. So I thought maybe what we should do is maybe just start off with the Serenity Prayer. So let's do that for a moment. If you would, if you can, if you're not driving or anything, close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And say it with me if you know it. And if not, just kick back and listen. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Wisdom to know the difference. So what is the Serenity Prayer? And basically, the Serenity Prayer is a request to God in full surrender to Him and full surrender of the moment, asking Him for peace, acceptance, courage, and wisdom. Therefore, the 4 principles: peace, acceptance, courage, and wisdom. So I thought maybe we could dive into a couple of those today. And before we do that, I just want to say, wherever you're at right now, whatever season you're in, whatever time you're in, whatever you're going through right now, whatever stands in front of you, I'm here to tell you that, number one, it's impermanent. Nothing lasts forever. You will get through whatever it is that you're facing right now. Now, it may not be exactly what you picture. It may not be exactly how you intend for it to work out, but it will work out one way or another. So I want to provide you with a little bit of encouragement and faith in that. God always comes through. God, in everything, God has always came through in all that we've been through, all that we've done. He's always been there, even when I didn't recognize it or refused to recognize it. He was always there. And when I look back on my life and I look back on our life, like Jess and I, and as a family, it's really easy to see that now. I couldn't see it in the moment, but I can see it now, that He was always there. And when we get to a point where we start to recognize that, it makes things a bit easier. It makes things a bit lighter. And we start to realize that, man, I don't really have a control over a lot of the stuff that I'm tripping on. And a lot of it is self-inflicted. A lot of it is worldly things that I've been so wrapped up in and encased in that there's not a whole lot I can do about them, except what can I do? I can control my attitude. I can control my decisions. I can control how I choose to respond to people, places, things. Like, those are things I can control. And the Serenity Prayer is a great tool to use in these types of moments when we're struggling with something. In fact, I'm using it actively today. We have a huge decision coming up, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. You know, and this decision is literally going to affect the future of our family. It's going to affect the future of our kids. And, you know, whether we whether we do it or don't do it, there's going to have effects on either side. And so that's kind of the struggle sometimes that we face is like, what do? I don't want to make the wrong decision. I don't want to have regret. I don't want to look back and say, I shouldn't have done that, or I should have done this. I should all over myself. You heard that one. I've said it on here before. It's a little cliche, I know, but it's very true. Should have this, I should have that. It doesn't matter. I had a great chat with my friend Buddy, and Buddy's been a great mentor to me over the years, and maybe you've heard him on the podcast a couple of times, and he had some great advice today and some great encouraging words, and it was so nice to catch up with him and hear that he's doing well, and also, remember some of the great conversations that we've had over the years. And one of the things that he used to say and still says today, what if there is no right or wrong decision? What if there's just a decision? And that came up again today. So I want to leave you with that. If you're facing a decision that you don't know what to do, or maybe you know what you need to do, you just don't know how to do it, like, it's going to be okay. Let me just start there. And you're not alone in this. And I want you to contemplate on that, chew on that for a minute. What if there is no right or wrong decision? What if there's just a decision? What if there just is something that has to be done, or has to be stopped, or has to be finished, or has to be changed? And I know for me, in this decision for our family, what we're about to make, that statement right there provides some relief in that. And also the Serenity Prayer provides some relief in that. And these 4 principles of the Serenity Prayer, peace, acceptance, courage, and wisdom, we can apply those to every scenario we're in. And let's start with peace today. And I want to dive into these 4 and just look at them a little bit. And the first one, peace, what does peace mean to you? Like, when you hear the word peace, what do you think of? Do you think of like an old hippie, like peace, bro, peace, love? I even say it at the end of every show, peace, love, and respect. Peace, like, what does that mean to you? Peace, calmness, chill, peace. Like, what do you think of when you hear that? Let me tell you what Jesus said about peace. Jesus said, I have told you all of this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth, you will have many trials and sorrow, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. That's John 16:33. So a lot of the times when we're looking for peace, if we take a step back, we realize that most of the stuff that is robbing and stealing and taking our peace from us, number one, like I said earlier, a lot of it, generally, a lot of the time, at least in my experience, has been self-inflicted, but it's also worldly stuff. It's usually not the spiritual stuff. It's usually not when I'm walking in the spirit that I have issues with not having or finding peace. It's usually when I'm walking in the world and forgetting that I have a bigger purpose in life. I have a God who is good, who guides me, who I can rely on, who I can trust, who I can let go of all the things that are holding me down. I find peace in that. But if I'm not in that spiritual walk, and it doesn't mean we're perfect either. I go back and forth with this. I'm so transparent about this because I suck some days. I do. I forget some days that I'm more than just a sack of skin walking on a round ball spinning in the middle of this crazy universe, allegedly. Like, we can get into that kind of mindset where we're stuck in the world and the worldly things will drive us mad, insane. But that's what Jesus said in that. I have overcome the world. When he died on the cross, he overcame the world. He overcame the sin for us. So we don't have to carry that and live with that. And we don't have to live lives where we don't have peace, where we can't find peace. So I was so caught up in self, in my addiction to substance, in my addiction to escaping everything, my addiction to not feeling, my addiction to politics. That was a big one for many years. And I when I say that, I'm not, when it comes to world events and all the stuff we see on media and the television and the social media and the news, if you still watch the news, I don't really know why anyone would anymore. Occasionally I'll turn it on and I go, why the hell am I watching this? This is garbage. Both sides of the aisle. It's all owned by one giant conglomerate, and they just play both sides off against us, or to us, maybe is a better way to put it. It's all theater. It's theater. And so to get wrapped up in that, to my point, we are falling into the trap of the world, and that robs and steals our peace. I was addicted to that for many years. I was addicted to the world's problems. I was addicted to my problems. I was addicted to the struggle, addicted to finding out the truth. I had to hit the cough button there real quick. But I wanted the truth. What's real? What's fake? It's nearly impossible, by the way, to find out what is real and what's fake at this point in a worldly setting that we sit in. Who knows? AI, deep fakes, media, hype, just blatant bullshit. Excuse my language, but I mean, it's insane, right? And so to be wrapped up in all of that, of course you're not going to find peace. Of course you're not going to find peace in that. Like, I could not find genuine peace in any of that, and I was using alcohol as a tool to deal with it all. And the only time I could find a little bit of temporary peace was in drunkenness, because I could escape the prison of my mind. I could escape the prison of my reality. And there was peace because I was looking for peace in all the wrong, or there wasn't peace, I should say, because I was looking for peace in all the wrong places. I wasn't looking to Jesus for peace. I wasn't looking to God for peace. I wasn't looking to a spiritual walk to find my peace. And I was raised Catholic. I knew God as a kid. I did all the religious things, catechism, first communion, confirmation, went to church, Christmas and Easter. We were always there. Kind of classic, right? We went more than that, but that's how it goes sometimes. And when you're a kid, I didn't really get it, but I knew there was something bigger. I always believed that. I believed that God was real. I believed Jesus was real. I believed he died on the cross for us. But as I started to get older, I strayed away from that, and I got caught in the world. I got caught in a broken home. I got caught in my own self and my own hurts and my own wounds and my own selfishness and my own, kind of way of living. And it took me to the depths of addiction, of not wanting to be here anymore, not being a good father, not being a good husband, all of it down the list. And then there was a moment when I finally, after trying so many things, trying, more substances, I need to make more money, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to pay this, I need to go here, I need to go there. If I get that, it's going to make me feel complete. It's going to make me feel better. None of it worked. None of it worked. And I finally, in this moment, I was 32 years old. I was desperate. I was at the end of my rope. I was drinking every day. I could not stop as much as I wanted to stop. It was like Groundhog Day every day. And I finally, in that moment, one afternoon, after I admitted all this to my wife and to my friend Seth, I found a moment of peace. But it didn't come immediately. It didn't come without chaos. And I'll briefly share with you what happened before we move on to the next one here, acceptance. But as I admitted all that and said I need some help at 32, my daughter's 3 years old at the time. My wife and I are on the rocks. Like, man, it was a hard time, about to get evicted, can't pay my bills, just unhealthy, broken, angry, depressed, all of it, all covering it, all wearing this mask of escapism. I was a professional escape artist at that point. But I knew God was real and I knew he was there. And, I think it's in Revelation 3. So I stand at the door and knock. And if you hear my voice and open the door, I will come in and eat with you. I will be with you. And I could hear Jesus knocking on my door. I could hear it for a long, long time. I could hear it tugging on my heart. I was just too scared and too caught up in my own stuff to open that door. And on this day, I couldn't take it anymore. So I go for a walk after I tell everyone I need help and whatever. So now they know, well, not everyone, I guess, my wife and Seth, but they know the two extremely important people in my life. They know. So now I got to take action, right? Because they know. And the next morning, as I'm supposed to make that call, to go get some help, I hear all the chaos in my head. Enemy starts creeping in. Oh, you're good. You got this. Don't be a bitch. Don't be a punk. Don't be weak. You're a man. You can handle this. You're not as bad as that guy. You don't need help. You don't need to quit drinking. You don't need to make changes in your life. You're good. You got this. I was heading down the exact path I never wanted to go, ever. And I couldn't find any peace, couldn't find any joy. So I went on a walk. And long story short, as I'm walking down the parkway here, near where we live now, I see this book in the middle of the road. And as I get up closer, it's a Bible. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? All the chaos going in my head. What am I going to do? Am I going to run like I've always done? Am I going to follow through? Am I actually going to get some help? I don't know. I don't know what to do. God, help me. What should I do? And there's this Bible laying there. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? I walk right past it. And I probably get about 10 steps and I just hear, go pick it up. Literally felt it, heard it. I don't even know how to explain it. It was an overwhelming feeling of go pick it up. So I turned around and I walked back over, and it was in the middle of the road, kind of almost the middle of the road, kind of to this, maybe the bike lane area. Usually a busy road too. Busy road. Parkway. You got lots of cars. It was desolate at this moment. Usually would have been busy. So it was in the morning time. So school, work, all that. But there was nobody there. It was strange. And I knelt down and I went to pick it up and I just heard, go. I got you. You're doing the right thing. This is the right thing for you. I have something more for you. Something like that. That's what I felt. That's what I heard. That's what I experienced in that moment. And for the first time, I felt a moment of peace. Like I felt peace in that moment. I was like, dang, okay, you got me, God. And I haven't looked back since in that moment. Now, it doesn't mean that I haven't had lots of ups and downs and challenges along the way and done dumb stuff still and said stupid stuff. And, I'm not saying that in that moment, everything was perfect. It wasn't, and it hasn't been. But it changed the trajectory of my path, of my life, of my walk with God. And he was always with me, just like I said in the beginning. He was always there. He was always with me. But I didn't know how to listen to him. I didn't know how to open that door and invite him in. And in that moment, I experienced this spiritual longing that I had been looking for a long, long time. Long time. And man, it was a very powerful moment. It was a very powerful moment. And the peace that Jesus speaks of, it's not worldly comfort. It's not even happiness. And I think I've talked about this before in a previous podcast. I don't remember which one, but this is so important. It's not worldly. It's not having everything perfect like you want it in this world. And it's the confident rest that he speaks of. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. That's what he is talking about. So let's move on to acceptance here. Well, let me back up really quick. Matthew 6:25 through 34, because it relates to the rest, and then believers experiencing that they set aside anxiety and trusting God to work out his will, not our will. We're trusting that God will work out his will. When I knelt down before I ended up having to go to rehab, and I picked that Bible up and I heard that, and I felt it more or less, I was trusting that God was going to work his will out for my life. I gave it up to him. I surrendered to him in that moment. And that's what he talks about here. Therefore, I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat, what you will drink, nor about your body and what you will put on. Is life not more than food, and the body more than clothing? In other words, like, we have to trust that everything will work out just as it's supposed to. And everything is just the way it is right now in this moment. And that is faith. That is complete surrender, a complete submission. And there's a lot to unpack there. And I don't even feel, like I could do that right now in this moment. It's a lot. I get it. But I just, at least I'm hoping that maybe you'll take some of the scripture, maybe go back and read it for yourself, and check it out. And John 16:33, Matthew 6:25, 34, Matthew 11:28 through 30. Peace, rest. How do we find that? And that's a huge part of the first part of the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity. Grant me the serenity. What does serenity mean? Peace. Grant me the peace. Grant me the peace. I'm asking him. Praying to him. The second principle, acceptance. Acceptance, man, what a tough one. What a tough one acceptance is. Like, how many of you listening or watching right now are having a hard time accepting your current situation, whatever it is? Obviously, I'm not with you. I don't know what that is, but I can almost bet money that all of us are in some sort of predicament, some sort of situation, whether it be extremely serious or maybe it's not super serious, but it's still a situation. And we're having a hard time accepting that situation right now. Like, I get it. I had an extremely hard time accepting that it was my drinking habits, my decisions, my attitude, me, that was having a negative effect on my life. Because in that time, it was everyone else's fault. I couldn't accept the fact and become or stand up and be a man enough and take responsibility and say, I am the one causing this. I am the one who is making these choices. I am the one who's choosing to escape. I am the one who is choosing. And I understand that it's really hard to do that when you're not even conscious of it. So let me just kind of throw that in there too. I get it. I really wasn't conscious of the fact. All I knew that there were negative things happening and that I was a victim. So the victim mentality had completely taken over, wrapped up in the world, all the worldly things, the worldly stuff. Why this, why that, poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me. Another one, you heard that one too, little cliche again, but man, I'm pulling them out today. But it's true. And so I just kept drinking. I just kept drinking about it. I kept doing dumb stuff about it. I kept disobeying, anything. It was an active rebellion. And God talks a lot about that, about the rebellious heart of man, the rebellious nature of man. And man rebelled against God in the beginning. And that's why we're here where we're at today. Because of that act of rebellion, it lives in all of us. And so when we're acting that out and we're rebelling in our own right, in our own world, through all the things, those are having, most of the time, negative effects on our lives. And it was having a terrible effect on my life. It was affecting my ability to be a father to my daughter. It was affecting my ability to work and provide for my family. It was affecting my ability to be a good husband, to be a good son, to be a good friend, so selfish. It was everyone else's fault for many, many years. Until we take personal responsibility and accept that whatever situation we're in, it's exactly the way it's supposed to be, no matter what the circumstances are. We can't find acceptance. We can't find peace. We can't find peace without acceptance. And we can't find acceptance without peace. They kind of go hand in hand. So whatever it is that you're going through right now, whatever situation you're currently in, how do you find some sort of acceptance, even if it's something that you know is not your fault or you didn't do anything wrong? You're at the mercy of somebody else's decisions. Like, I get that too. It's tough, but there has to be some sort of moment of clarity in finding a small piece of acceptance so we can move on, so we can be in the moment, so we can find peace. That's huge. And if we go back to the Serenity Prayer, God grant me the serenity to what? To accept the things I cannot change. Accept the things I cannot change. What are the things you cannot change? People, places, things. Can't change some of that stuff, most of it. Can change our attitude, can change our habits, can change how we're carrying ourselves, what we're talking about, what we're reading, what we're listening to, all those things. I can change my relationship with something higher, my spiritual relationship. I can change that if I want to. So acceptance is huge, a huge part of it. The third principle, courage. Courage. What is courage? Thought about this a lot. Courage is hard, man. Courage is a hard thing to have, especially when you're going through something. There's a lot of fear that can creep in. And I thought, what's the current definition of courage? And the definition of courage is the mental or moral strength to venture, preserve, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. Let's do it one more time. The mental or moral strength to venture, persevere. Did I say preserve earlier? I think I did. I meant persevere. Start it from the top one more time. Courage. The mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. Doesn't that just sound scary? Just to read the definition, like, damn, I got to withstand danger, fear, and difficulty. We know life's going to be handing us some tough times at points in our life. How are we going to get through that? What are we going to do? I'm having a ton of fear right now about making a wrong decision. I mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast. Our family's about to make a huge decision that regards selling our house, moving out of state, new schools. I got to travel back and forth for work. You know, still, it's a lot. It's a lot to make a decision about. It's going to affect our whole future. Now, we don't have a lot of options for our current situation, which I don't really want to get into all the details of that today, but let's just say we feel like we are doing the right thing for our family. We feel that the future holds something great to where we'd like to move to. But it's still scary, and it still makes me question what we're doing as the leader of our family, as the leader of, you know, our future, I guess, in some senses. And I have the best wife, you know, to do this with, and the best kids. And like, we all have our own strengths and roles, and I'm so glad we're going to do it together, but it's really hard. It's really hard. So I was looking as I was kind of reading some scripture and wondering, like, God, what do I do? And praying and saying, like, you know, what, just please give us a sign. God, I mean, I rarely do that, but man, I've been doing that lately. God, just give me a sign. What do I do? You know, and we've had so much encouragement, and we've had so many signs, actually. Like I was saying, God's always there. Like, we've talked to so many people. Oh, you're going to love it. It's great. I think what you're doing is Just a great decision. Leaving, how many people are leaving California? A lot. There's a lot staying too. There's a lot of people that want to leave that, think about it. And we've thought about it for a long time. We almost did 4 years ago. It didn't work out. And here we are. Daughter's about to start high school. Like, man, it's a lot. It's a lot. So I was looking and came across this scripture and I was like, man, there it is. For God gave us a spirit, not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. And that's 2 Timothy 1:7. For God gave us a spirit, not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. 1 Corinthians 16:13. I thought that one too. I'm like, man, that is powerful stuff when I read that, when I read the word. That gives me hope. That gives me courage. That no matter what danger, fear, difficulty, wrong decisions, I know God has my back. I know God's got our family's back. I know that I'm doing the right thing to the best of my ability, and I'm trusting that God will work it out just as it's supposed to. Not meet my expectations. Let's be very clear about that. Well, God, we're gonna go ahead and sell our home and move. I'm gonna need you to put us in this house, and we're gonna have to make this much money, and there's numbers that, there's things, there's a strategy. Let me just say that. But beyond the generic strategy, I don't have expectations that God needs to meet. I just have to trust that everything will work out like it's supposed to. That's really hard to do. It's hard to say. But I'm telling you right now, you can do it too, as can I. But we have to be spiritually fit. We have to be in a place where we're not stuck in this world, and we understand there's something bigger, and we understand that God has a calling on each and every one of our lives, and we have a purpose to go do something, to go be somebody in His name, for His glory. Do you understand? Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope it resonates with you right now. It's not about us. It's not about me. It's not about the podcast. It's not about, the downloads. It's not about the move. It's not about the job. It's not about the money. It's not about the house. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about Him. What is the purpose in Him? Glorifying Him. Sharing the word with people, showing love to people, showing forgiveness to people. That's courage as well. Let's move on to wisdom, and then we'll wrap up today. Listen to advice and accept instruction that you may gain wisdom in the future. Proverbs 19:20, wisdom. Wisdom. What does wisdom mean to you? Wisdom. We want to be smart. I mentioned earlier, we want to know the truth. I want to know the wisdom. I want to know what happened. I want to know who's lying to me. I want to know what it means. I want to know why I'm here. I want to know the answers to everything. I want to have the answers, so when someone asks me something, I have that right answer so I can be smart. Oh, I'm guilty of it. I'm so guilty of it. I want the wisdom. The wisdom. Listen to advice and accept instruction that you may gain wisdom in the future. What advice are we listening to? What instruction are we taking? When was the last time you called somebody and said, I need some help, I need some advice? And when I say, when was the last time you called somebody? I hope it didn't sound like I almost said a curse word there. I've been trying to stop, even though I said a couple so far. But I'm passionate. What can I say? But really, are you seeking wisdom was my point. Are you seeking counsel? Are we seeking advice from those we trust, from those we love, from those who are also trying to walk a good walk with God? For those who are trying to seek a spiritual existence, a connection there? Are you seeking advice? And I mentioned earlier, I had talked to Buddy today, and that's a good example actually, of calling a friend that I trust, that I care about, and just throwing some ideas out there. Here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? Maybe you're in a moment right now and you're struggling, and you want to quit drinking. You want to quit doing what you're doing. You want to make some changes, and you don't know where to start. Who can you call? Who do you trust that you can call and just say, hey, man, I'm kind of struggling right now. Maybe you're struggling with a job. Maybe it's in your marriage. Maybe you're just having some personal issues. Maybe you're bored and you want to try something new. You just don't know what to do. You don't know where to start. Seek advice, seek instruction, and listen. Listen, and you will gain wisdom for the future. You can still use your logical man brain at the same time too. I'm very guilty of that. I do my best to trust God and to roll on it and just give up control, but I still have to calculate things. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. I'm not really sure about that one actually. But that's just how, I'm very calculated at numbers and trying to figure things out. That's just a man brain, I think, to some extent. But we at least have to have a general understanding that at the end of the day, we can plan all day and plan all day. But like Mike Tyson said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And so at that point, there has to be some understanding that we don't have it all figured out. We don't have all the answers. We don't have all the wisdom. We don't rely on man to make us feel fulfilled and all our expectations to be met. We don't, because it doesn't work like that. At least in my experience, it never has. Never. So I have to keep people around me that I trust, that I love, that I can seek advice from and seek wisdom from. And seek answers and their opinions. And that doesn't mean I agree with all of them either, and that I take all of them. No, that's not what I'm saying. But we have to have a strength of, or a strong group that we're going to rely on to listen to some of that stuff, listen to some of that feedback, and taking it back to the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity, the peace to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, right? And what else? The wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom to know the difference. That is some good stuff right there. That's some good stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope that something spoke to you today. I hope that maybe you'll take the Serenity Prayer and use that as a tool for you. For your family, for your current situation, when you get in those moments, when you start losing your cool, losing your mind, like you feel emotions start coming up, take a step back, take a breath, take a walk, say the Serenity Prayer. It's worked many, many, many times for me. And I want you to think about these 4 principles of it and the ease of it and how you can use it and apply it in your own life. If you want to quit drinking, if you want more resources, you can go to thatsoberguy.com. You can also contact us on there. You can follow us on Instagram at thatsoberguypodcast. And man, I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to hear from you. Got all the links in the show notes for you. Thank you for tuning in today. Peace, love, and respect. Keep your blood clean.